He confessed to murder. Not once, but again and again. Yet decades later, investigators were forced to admit something chilling. There was no body. And there never had been. Iceland. January 1974. A country known for quiet streets, tight-knit communities, and an unusually low crime rate. Serious violent crime was rare. Trust in authorities was strong. That trust would soon be tested. On a cold winter night, 18-year-old Guðmundur Einarsson left a small gathering in the town of Hafnarfjörður. He planned to walk home. It wasn't a long distance. It was a route he had taken many times before. He never arrived. At first, no one panicked. Friends assumed he had stayed somewhere else. That kind of thing happened. But as the night turned into morning, concerns slowly grew. By the next day, fear had set in. Search teams were organized. Roads were checked. Shorelines were scanned. People called his name into the darkness. Nothing. No personal belongings. No signs of a struggle. No witnesses who saw anything unusual. Guðmundur had simply vanished. Months passed. Then, in November of the same year, it happened again. This time, the missing man was Geirfinnur Einarsson, a 32-year-old construction worker living in Keflavik. One evening, he received a phone call. No one knows who it was from. Shortly afterward, he stepped outside his home. He never came back. 2 men. 2 disappearances. Same year. Same country. And once again, no body. At first, police treated the cases separately. Iceland's harsh environment offered many explanations. Accidental death. Voluntary disappearance. Tragic misfortune. But something didn't sit right. Both men vanished in populated areas. Neither had a reason to disappear. Neither left anything behind. As weeks turned into months, pressure mounted. Families demanded answers. The public grew uneasy. Media attention intensified. And in a nation unaccustomed to unsolved mysteries, the lack of progress became impossible to ignore. Investigators began to feel they were running out of time. That's when the focus changed. Away from physical evidence. And toward people. Police attention narrowed to a small group of individuals. None were directly linked to the disappearances. There was no forensic evidence tying them to anything. But there were rumors. Associations. Coincidences. And that was enough to begin interrogations. The questioning was intense. Hours turned into days. Days turned into weeks. Suspects were isolated. Sleep was disrupted. Doubt was introduced slowly, methodically. Investigators repeated the same questions again and again. You were there. You must remember. You're blocking it out. At first, everyone denied involvement. Then something shifted. One suspect began to doubt their own memory. Another started agreeing with investigators just to make the questioning stop. Confusion set in. And eventually, words were spoken. Confessions. The statements were detailed. They described meetings, arguments, moments that supposedly led to the deaths of Guðmundur and Geirfinnur. To investigators, this felt like a breakthrough. More suspects were brought in. More confessions followed. Each new statement seemed to confirm the last. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming. The confessions contradicted each other. Timelines didn't match. Locations changed from one statement to the next. And when police asked the most important question, where are the bodies, there was no answer. Search teams were sent to the places mentioned. Harbors were dredged. Fields were excavated. Remote areas were combed. Nothing was ever found. No remains. No verified crime scene. No physical proof that a crime had even taken place. Still, authorities pressed forward. Because multiple confessions felt like certainty. The cases went to trial. The confessions became the backbone of the prosecution. The absence of physical evidence was acknowledged, but explained away. Investigators argued that the suspects knew things only someone involved could know. The courts accepted that reasoning. Convictions followed. Several individuals were sentenced. For the public, it appeared the mystery had finally been solved. 2 disappearances. Answers at last. But one question refused to go away. Where were the bodies? Years passed. Those convicted lived with the consequences. But over time, some began to speak publicly. They described interrogations that lasted endlessly. They spoke of isolation, of being worn down mentally. They described being told repeatedly that they were guilty, even when they didn't believe it themselves. Psychological experts later examined the interrogation methods. Their conclusions were troubling. Under extreme pressure, the human mind can create false memories. People can begin to believe events that never happened, especially when authority figures insist on a specific version of reality. Journalists reopened the case. Legal scholars reviewed the evidence. Public confidence began to crack. Because the foundation of the case was fragile. Words without proof. Decades after the original convictions, Icelandic authorities took a rare and dramatic step. They reopened the case. Interrogation records were re-examined. Psychological evaluations were conducted. International experts were consulted. The findings were devastating. The confessions were deemed unreliable. They were inconsistent. They were influenced by pressure. They were unsupported by physical evidence. One by one, convictions were overturned. Not because innocence was definitively proven, but because guilt had never been proven at all. Today, the disappearances of Guðmundur Einarsson and Geirfinnur Einarsson remain unresolved. Their official fate is unknown. No bodies have ever been found. No confirmed crime scenes identified. The individuals once convicted were cleared, but the damage could not be undone. Years were lost. Lives were altered permanently. Families were left without closure. The case changed Iceland's justice system forever. Interrogation practices were reformed. Safeguards were strengthened. Because this case revealed something deeply unsettling. A confession does not always mean the truth. This story isn't just about 2 missing men. It's about the power of authority, the fragility of memory, and the danger of chasing certainty when evidence is absent. The Reykjanes confessions are now studied around the world, not as solved crimes, but as warnings. Warnings about what can happen when pressure replaces proof. Somewhere in Iceland's landscape, answers may still exist. Or they may be gone forever. What remains is a question that refuses to fade. If 6 people could confess, if courts could convict, and yet nothing physical ever confirmed the crime, then what really happened? Did these men confess to something that never occurred? Or is the truth still hidden where no one has ever looked?